Rush, thank you for joining us. And today, in your third hour on your radio show, you talked about the news about Governor Palin starting a bus tour. Do you think this is the beginning of a campaign for the White House?
Before I answer the question, Greta, can I address something here of always or mostly appearing on your program on the phone? I told some people I was going to be on the phone. They said, why aren't you never on camera? Why don't they want you on camera? And I said, it's not them, it's me. I said, I'm looking so good these days that people would not hear what I say, and I'd be so blinded by appearance. So I choose to be on the phone to actually be heard. Yeah, I think this bus trip is it's certainly designed to get people speculating that she's in. And it's clear, Greta, the thing about Sarah Palin to me is that she has now learned to relish and to profit from all of the attention, be it negative or positive. And she certainly knows negative attention. She has suffered slings and arrows. She's got the media anal exam unlike any other Republican candidate. And I've never met her. I don't know, but it appears to me her the skin is very thick, and I think that she now has come to grips with the fact that that's part and parcel of the process. And I think one of the things that she enjoys is just rubbing it right back in her face. She knows that they are trying to intimidate her into silence, not running perhaps, being quiet or shutting up. Here comes the bus tour. I think she's mastering the things that she's going to have to master if she indeed decides at some point to run.
You have the Gallup poll. You talked about that today, and it says that she's 2 points behind Governor Romney, and she hasn't even indicated she's jumping in the race. Does that show a particular strength, and how does the Republican Party going to embrace her?
Well, it's interesting. That poll, that result shocked me. The way the Gallup people wrote it up, they say it was since Governor Daniels is out, since Trump is out, he was never in. And since Huckabee is not running, that this has opened it up. But to launch her to number 2, like this, only 2 points behind Romney, I think that was startling. But Greta, you've asked the question of the day. You've asked the question of the campaign. The Republican Party is really roiled right now. It's inside the Beltway intelligentsia and power base is not oriented toward conservatism. Conservative Republicans make them nervous. The inside the Beltway ruling class, the elites, they're more oriented toward candidates they can attach the word serious to, which is another way of saying somebody that's boring, if somebody doesn't ruffle feathers, somebody that exudes an air of formal education and sophistication. She doesn't exude that, and I think it's going to shake a lot of people up. You know as well as I do. You've followed her. You've traveled around the country in various states with her. You know the effect that she has on establishment Republican people. They're just as frightened in their own way as the Democrats are of Palin. And one thing I think that is inescapable, particularly when looking at the Democrats will always, in the media, will always tell us who they're afraid of by virtue of who they spend time trying to destroy. And by the same token, when Mitch Daniels was flirting with possibly getting in, Washington Post, New York Times were all quoting Democrats and Republicans saying, yeah, this is who Obama really fears. The White House really, really fears Mitch Daniels. Really? Would they tell us that if they really thought that? Is that who they're really afraid of? So they're trying to goad into the race? Ruth Marcus, I think the Washington Post, please Mitch run so we have a serious campaign that makes Obama better. But really convoluted thinking, weird thinking. Bottom line is she scares them. She also scares the Republican establishment. But so do some other potential Republican candidates, too.
Like who else scares them? How about Santorum or Bachmann or Gingrich?
Well, Santorum and Bachmann are great examples. Bachmann especially is somebody that would frighten them. Anybody who is Tea Party oriented is going to send some chills down the spine, both the Democrat and Republican establishment. There's something about the Tea Party that frightens them, and I think it's a direct connection with the American people that the Tea Party represents. And you go back, even Reagan, Greta, was not that embraced by the Republican establishment, particularly during the campaigns of 76 and 80. After he was elected, they kind of had no choice. But it's always a battle in the Republican Party for conservatives to overcome.
To what extent do you think the political journalists and the political pundits are so far removed from the Tea Party that they don't understand them and don't realize their impact?
I think they do understand. I think they're far removed by choice. I think they don't want to be in touch with middle-class, hard-working people who make the kind of people who make the country work. We really are a class division politics in this country. And there are people who are elites and people who aren't. The elites are always going to be afraid of the people who aren't, because there are far fewer elites than there are non-elites. The non-elites happen to relate to each other, and so it's a threat more than anything else. I think it's you have a Tea Party candidate who's victorious, running for the presidency. You have a possibility here of upsetting the entire D.C. power and social structure that exists. They're outsiders. They're considered outsiders. They're not considered genuine political professionals. By definition, Tea Party people aren't. They're people in many cases that never even been involved in politics. They started going to town hall meetings a couple summers ago and have simply come to life because they don't like the direction the country's going, and they don't see their attitudes, their views, their wishes and their desires passionately defended or represented in Washington, so they're taking matters into their own hands, coming up with their own candidates, and that's what propelled the Republican Party to victory in November 2010. The Republicans have got to realize they did nothing to win that election except not be Democrats.